The film opens with a presentation by a scientist who outlines a crucial mission to save humanity on Earth. By the year 2063, researchers have identified a planet that can support human life, acting as a viable alternative for our species. On that basis, they decide to dispatch a group of genetically engineered humans, all created using a special laboratory process, to travel through space in search of this new home. One of the key figures, Dr. Richard, explains that these humans, developed from infancy in an isolated environment, cannot be allowed to form emotional attachments to Earth, because once they embark on this mission, they will never be able to return. Over time, these engineered children grow into young adults. Initially, Dr. Richard feels confident in his educational system after observing the progress of Christopher and Selah, who both seem to develop smoothly from toddlers into teenagers. However, his optimism wanes somewhat when he notices unusual behavior from another boy, Zach, whose reactions hint at a deeper volatility. Concerned about potential complications, Dr. Richard decides to accompany them on their journey. When the group is deemed fully prepared, the long-awaited expedition, named Humanitas, sets off into space. By the time of departure, Christopher, Selah, Zach, and the others have matured into early adulthood, yet they display almost robotic personalities, devoid of typical teenage emotions or desires. Unknown to them, this suppression arises from a blue fluid they consume regularly. At first, they have no idea that this blue is actually a drug designed to keep their emotions, inclinations, and physical urges firmly under control. Despite the strict rules, Dr. Richard quietly shows Selah a photograph of his family on Earth, an act strictly prohibited because stirring personal feelings is deemed dangerous. If emotional attachments blossom aboard the vessel, conflicts may erupt and jeopardize the mission. Still, Richard believes it's important for Selah to know a small sliver of his past, even though it violates protocol. Time passes, until Christopher spots something troubling in their food supply. He notices that certain ingredients could be toxic in some way. When he questions Dr. Richard, the doctor claims it is toxic only to plants, not humans. Nonetheless, Christopher remains suspicious. Together with his friend Zach, he begins investigating more deeply. Their inquiries lead to a startling revelation. The so-called blue they have been dutifully drinking is in fact a pharmaceutical agent meant to neutralize emotions and libido. Disturbed by the truth, Christopher and Zach stop taking the blue fluid. They also confide in Kai and Julie, sharing their newly uncovered secret. Meanwhile, Dr. Richard, aware that some crew members have uncovered the real function of the blue, grows anxious and considers reaching out to Earth for guidance. He worries about a domino effect should more people refuse the drug. Heightened emotions, rivalry, jealousy, all outcomes with the potential to endanger the entire spaceship. Indeed, once Christopher discontinues the blue, he suddenly experiences strong emotions and stirrings of desire, sensations he has never felt before. Fortunately, Christopher keeps himself in check. In contrast, Zach is less measured. His impulses come flooding in, and when he tries to forcefully pull Selah toward him, it causes great alarm. Dr. Richard catches him in the act and intervenes before things escalate further. Another crew member, Edward, investigates strange sounds and small disturbances around the ship, yet uncovers nothing solid. Tensions continue building, especially for Zach, who grows resentful upon seeing Dr. Richard gently place a hand on Selah's shoulder, a gesture outside the strict physical boundaries on the vessel. This envy sets the stage for an even deeper clash between the crew members. Before long, there is an electrical short circuit in the spacecraft's outer structure. Dr. Richard, with Zach in tow, goes outside to repair the damage. During this time, Zach's surging desires keep pushing him toward impulsive actions. Eventually, Dr. Richard has to force him back under control. The other crew members watch these developments with growing trepidation, seeing how far Zach's behavior has drifted from the obedient norm. Alarmed by Zach's actions and his refusal to keep drinking the blue, Dr. Richard decides to hand Zach's responsibilities over to Christopher. This only intensifies Zach's anger. Shortly afterward, an ominous event occurs. While Dr. Richard is out on another inspection, a dark, shadowy figure appears and strikes him without warning. The attack is fatal, leaving Dr. Richard lifeless. When the rest of the team learns of his death, they are thrown into mourning and confusion as to what actually happened. Strangely, even though Christopher was nearby. He claims to have seen nothing. Meanwhile, Edward mentions glimpsing something on the surveillance feed, an energy discharge that apparently hit Dr. Richard. Unfortunately, the storage disk containing the footage was destroyed in a sudden fire, preventing anyone from investigating further. With Dr. Richard gone, a new leader must be chosen. The team votes, ultimately electing Christopher as the new commander. This infuriates Zach, who perceives Christopher's promotion as a personal slight. As the new leader, Christopher tries to restore order. Sela shows him an archive of files that Dr. Richard apparently intended to delete before leaving Earth. The records hint that Richard was attempting to protect the crew from something, though the files do not fully reveal what that danger might have been. The crew experiences yet another short circuit, but instead of leaping into action, many remain strangely indifferent. Christopher scolds them for their passivity. Seizing the moment, Zach announces a party to celebrate Christopher's leadership, encouraging everyone to gather in a communal area. After eating, Kai urges the others to cease drinking the blue entirely, unleashing a surge of raw impulses. Freed from the drug's grip, the crew indulges in unregulated amusements, watching restricted videos, ignoring the ship's protocols, and openly exploring physical desire. Inevitably, a new altercation emerges. Zach tries forcing himself on Sela once again, but Christopher steps in, stopping him. Their latent hostility explodes. Once friends, the two stand on opposite sides now. More crew members discover their natural emotions and drives as the days go on, resulting in factional divisions. Zach then fans the flames by accusing Christopher of incompetence. He even claims an alien was smuggled on board by Dr. Richard, driving the weird malfunctions they have seen. Concern and confusion spread through the rest of the team. Striving to debunk Zach's alien story, Christopher searches for missing CCTV recordings in the craft system archives. Soon after Christopher departs that location, Zach arrives and stages another dramatic confrontation, claiming to see the alien. He orders everyone to leave the area. Meanwhile, Christopher, joined by Edith and Alex, manages to salvage partial surveillance discs, revealing the truth. Zach conspired with Kai to kill Dr. Richard by orchestrating a lethal electricity surge, so Dr. Richard's death was no cosmic accident. It was cold-blooded murder. Reacting to this grim discovery, Christopher acknowledges that suspending the Blue Regimen may have been a miscalculation, as unrestrained emotions have led them to the edge of violence. Yet Sela tries to steady him, offering her unwavering loyalty, and they share an intimate moment that bonds them closer. Later, Zach sets up another group gathering, creating the perfect venue for Christopher to announce the truth about Dr. Richard's murder. However, Zach swiftly flips the story, manipulates the crowd, and fuels chaos. A violent outburst claims the life of one crew member, and the communal unity collapses into chaos, splitting the ship into factions. Alex and Edith, sensing the situation is spiraling beyond control, advise Christopher to relinquish command and broker peace with Zach. But Christopher refuses to back down. He hunts for hidden weapons aboard the vessel, only to discover that Zach has already seized them. Zach vows to eliminate anyone loyal to Christopher, and Alex plus Edith switch sides, granting Zach greater resources for his power grab. Zach soon corners Christopher's allies, taking many captive. At one point, Sela contemplates attacking Zach with a knife, but Zach dismisses her defiance. Tensions escalate further, until Phoebe attempts to mediate, but she is killed. This act sends Zach's psyche to a new level of brutality. Driven by his distorted rage, he orders a manhunt for Christopher and Sela. The two flee through the corridors, narrowly evading capture. Kai, once Zach's partner in crime, winds up fatally wounded by Christopher during a desperate confrontation. Moments later, Zach shoots and injures Christopher, forcing him and Sela to keep running. Cornered and out of options, Christopher and Sela devise a final gambit to jettison Zach into space. They manage to bait him to the airlock, but Zach is stronger and more aggressive than they anticipated. A fierce struggle ensues. Eventually, Zach is hurled into the void of space. In the process, Christopher nearly goes with him. Clinging to the side of the vessel, he manages at last to pull himself back inside. With Zach gone, Along with all the mayhem he induced, the ship's environment settles back into relative calm. Leadership then falls to Selah, who has proven herself wise and empathetic. She and the others choose to stop taking the blue altogether, believing that authentic emotion is worth any associated risks. In the film's closing scenes, we witness the birth of a new generation. Children conceived naturally by Selah and other female crew members. Filled with renewed hope, the starship glides onward. After 86 years of travel, they finally arrive at their target world. The film ends on this note of resolve and fresh beginnings, as humanity's future lands safely upon the horizon of a brand new planet. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.